Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Box of the Technical Trader at thetechtrader.com. It's Saturday, the 7th of January, the weekend webinar. Well, an important week, particularly on Friday. That session was a big one for the market, but one data is not a trend make. And if you look at the overall picture, you'll see the S&P 500 in last year has gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. Big engulfing reversal bar and wonderful rally that took the S&P from under 3,500 to nearly 4,100. About 600 points and a substantial move, to say the least, in a short period of time. Then the pullback and what looked like bear wedges forming. With Friday was a different day for the market. As you can see, the S&P closed just underneath the 50-day moving average and just above the trading range of the last couple of weeks. So Friday, Monday, early next week, going to be important. If the market does get a follow through, I'll look for 4,000, maybe 4,100 on the S&P. But any quick rollover completes what could be a 1-2, and that would be a wave 2 bear flag potentially. It's going to be a tough call. Let's look at it on an hourly. This is why you see what I'm talking about. It's coiling for what looked like a wave 2 bear coil, and then conceivably going lower, but with the breakout on Friday, or at least the surge on Friday, up to it looks like these tops, that bottom there, we're at resistance despite the breakout. So we need to get a follow through, and if we don't, if it's quickly lower Monday, we could start to see levels in the 37, 36.5 range. That zone would be your next target zone, maybe even less. On the upside, you can see where the markets could go, as we said. On the NASDAQ 100, here's another hourly chart that shows the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down, and it looks like mini base, something like that. Stuck his head out, and that we're above the moving average and price resistance. But this has a longer way to go. 11,300 is the next big resistance area for the NASDAQ 100. Here it is on the daily chart. You'll see the pop and a very positive close, the best close in a couple weeks, but nevertheless, and a big engulfing reversal bar as well. So what you need to watch carefully is the NASDAQ 100 supported about 10,670, 75 down there. Your immediate target would be 11,350, right there where the moving average and price resistance is. Then we'll see where we go from there with the declining top line coming in at about 11.8. Transportation index confirming what we saw in the others with the come down, consolidation, and a snapback of 3.38%. By the way, the move on Friday were NASDAQ 100 up 2.8% and the S&P 500 up 2.3%. So we had some pretty big moves on Friday. We'll see if there's a follow through. We need to get one, obviously. Transportation index targets 14.3, 14.7, and key support is the double triple bottom at 13.2, 240.50. The small cap index also did well, not quite as well. You can see that moved up 2.2%, which is the lowest percentage move of those 4 indices we follow. And so it's still at a resistance level in that zone and could easily pull back and fail and form some sort of 1-2 wave 2 bear wedge or flag. And if it quickly rolls over, the targets are 168 and 163. That's a big one down here where there's a triple bottom. Any breakout that does occur above here could lead to 183-ish on the IWM. The underlying technicals show that the McClellan oscillator that run and spiked up to near 100, up 99.98 was a high on Friday, from a low just 2 weeks prior and minus 171. So a substantial move back up off the oversold condition. Not quite overbought yet, but getting there. We have seen rallies fail in that zone plus, 100, and then they pull back. The percentage of stocks above their 40 has increased back over 50%. As you can see, 53.5% now of stocks are above their 40. And this is quite the interesting V bottom with a platform on that index, although we don't chart the index the same way we do in stocks because it's more overbought, oversold. When we get up to 75, 85 area, the market's usually overbought, or at least with that many percentage of stocks participating above their 40. VIX has lost its luster and has gone nowhere for weeks and months. You can see just backing and filling in the 20s, although it was down 6% on Friday. Nothing to glean from that yet. And now we'll look at some of the major components. You'll see some big reversal bars. Look at Apple. Scroll in here and you'll see that a big engulfing reversal bar occurred with a new multi-week pullback low, multi-month. 122.5 reversed and got up to 130, finished 129.25 at the upper end of the range. I think the key is going to be, can we get to 131, 132.5 zone? Then you're looking at 136.7 and 140. But those usually, when you see this kind of a bullish engulfing reversal, similar to what we had here, which led to that rally, we usually do get a follow through. Amazon not as strong, but it did have a reversal bar. And Google also with a reversal bar, but not as strong, coming off of key support. Netflix has been a star for a couple of months now after being the weakest component during this slide. It's become the strongest along with Meta, having gone from the May low last year of 162 and change to the recent high 333. Pretty amazing, double 100% move during a lousy part for NASDAQ and for Netflix itself. And what it looks to me like it's a 1-2 and it's a 3-4 fifth wave maybe starting here. Key resistance now at 333, Netflix. Meta, as you can see, the reason I'm bullish on Meta is this breakaway exhaustion move, a lower low. This thing got down to 88, folks. 88. And when Meta was trading a year prior to that, at 380, so 384 to 88, losing nearly 300 points. Coming off the low with a gap, running up sharply, wedge, pop, wedge, pop, wedge. We rarely see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way move, or at least 1, 2, and this could be considered 3 and 4, and the fifth wave's underway. The pullback on Friday and an engulfing bar on Meta, also very bullish. Your target's 140, 155. Microsoft, nice reversal bar as well. Tagged the new low. That low is similar to this zone in here, but more importantly, 219 to 227 on Friday alone. Now your targets and resistance at 132, 137. Excuse me, 232, 237. We'll see if there's lows in place, but we need follow-throughs, and you can see from the indices that if we don't get follow-throughs, we can immediately start lower. It's going to be important Monday, Tuesday of next week, that's for sure. And finally, Tesla at a new multi-year low. I told you that Head and Shoulders top looked ominous with the target down near 100. Well, guess where it hit? 101. And a big reversal Friday from 101 to 114, finishing 113.68 near the upper end of the range. 235 million shares, huge volume for Tesla. So you can see that the resistance on Tesla right now going forward is near 119 and 124.5. Those are your targets early next week if we do get a follow through. All right, got a lot of longs and shorts to talk about, but before we do that, some of the ETFs. Here's the SMH, which was looking pretty dire and ugly, exploded from 201 to 213, finished 211.50. Gain of 870 or 4.3%, and closing right on resistance. And he followed through the upside, and we have a very potentially big move coming. 227 and 233 are targets, followed by 245. The financials, FAS, also coming off the low. This is active. They have acted well the last couple of weeks, and this has gone from under 68 to 81. Nice move. Look at the massive left shoulder, head, right shoulder here that's developing. Obviously, massive resistance in the 90-95 range. Anything through that, and the market's ripping it. What about biotechs? The XBI and the LABU have been literally 3 months spacing. Well, Friday was a nice engulfing reversal bar, but it didn't close great on the XBI. It did get up to 85, finished 83.05, only up half a point. So we'll have to see what happens there. And our favorite little trading stock, LABU, from a low of 657 to a high of 727 for a 70-cent pop, and backed off to 701. But you need to get this one through 730 and 750, 55 zone. That's the key resistance. You break that, you'll also break your declining top line. But the key being this entire 3-4 month base is clear resistance between 8.25 and 8.40. Above that, you're looking at $10 and then 12. Gold. Well, I'm really liking the way it's looking. The long decline. I pointed out the base pattern looked like an inverse head and shoulders. There's your breakout, retest, test resistance, pull back, form a wedge, and break out again. This whole gold group looks outstanding. GDX, JNUG, and Nugget for ETFs that are running, in particular, 5.3% and 7% for JNUG on Friday. Silver not as strong, but you know, my people are telling me they think when precious metals take off, that silver percentage-wise will have a bigger move even. Anyway, I'm looking for an AGQ here. I've been broken out of the base and now consolidating nicely. And then our swing trade on Pan American Silver, beautiful inverse head and shoulders. Note Friday's action. 715 is almost 18, finishing 788. And you can see that it's the highest close we've had since back in August, which indicates to me the possibility of testing this gap at 1940 and then this key resistance level at around 21, 21 and a quarter. Beyond that, we're looking at 24. So let's move on to the longs. We have some longs and shorts to talk about today. Many of them biotechs, of course. ACLX, one of my top 20 picks. Didn't have a great day Friday, but it did make a new high, reaching 34.68. And I like this long-term look a lot. EHR with a spectacular day based on a strong earnings report. It stock gapped and ran. It was up 579 at 23.06 with a high near 25. Massive volume for this stock, 9.3 million. It looks to me like if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth wave has started, it may eventually get into the 33, 35 range. In the gold sector, AEM, Agnico Eagle, base breakout, run up to resistance, and your next target is going to be up there at 60. AKRO, one of my top 20 picks for the year. Spectacular breakaway wedge and rising channel. This stock could be much higher over the next few months. AMAM, pop, falling wedge pop, and a little flag in here. Watch this carefully next week. Move over 245. Yours truly will be looking for 3 1/4 and 4 3/4. AMLX, another stock in the biotech sector that I really like. Not on my top 20 list, should have been, but it did make my top 25. I had to cut this one out, and I'm not sure why. Probably because it's been consolidating for a few months and hasn't gone anywhere yet. But Friday was a good day for it. Any move over 40, and we could be looking at 50, 52. AOUT, which popped out, we put a swing on it, and then spiked, pulled back, and it's moving again. I like the overall look, base, breakout, retest, and then go. So if we can get it above 11.5, my target's going to be near 13. 12 3/4, 13. ARDX, low price biotech stock with a great trend. Looks like it's headed for 4. ATEC, the medical device group. Strong chart, strong trend. Looks like it is headed towards 16, my next target. It is at resistance here, double resistance. ATNF. Biotechs in general are running. A lot of low price ones have exploded. Look at this, 118 to 715. We're talking 7-fold, folks, in a week. So, I mean, let it back and fill a little bit, but my next target is $10. In the gold sector, AU, Anglo, Ashanti, I like the look of this. It is at resistance here, but eventually I'm looking at a stock that's going to be mid-20s. AUPH, another biotech that ripped last week, was exceptional. The week before it closed at 432, yesterday 763. The target is 8.5 with some big resistance, followed by 9.75. Good start off the low. You can see the long-term decline and a big reversal. In the Chinese sector, BILI, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the fifth wave may not be done. Nevertheless, Chinese stocks did not have a good Friday. Most of them, though, had a great week. This is well. Next target, 32.5. Blue Bird Bio. It's a stock that I had on my list to watch. It made my top 30, did not make my top 20. It's a low price biotech that if it gets above 8.5, could see 10.5 and 12. BORR in the oil and gas drilling sector, a nice chart. Look at the long-term chart. Emerging, it appears. Friday was a good day for it, up another 48 cents or 10%. The key is getting through 5.5. Then you're looking at 6.25 and 7. BOX broke out. We put a swing and made my first target. Back then, filled, broke out again, but couldn't get through and rolled back to retest the breakout point. Nevertheless, it bounced off that level, so we'd like to see what it does here. 32, 3 zone, and then 35, 6 zone are targets. BTB, this is a low price stock that has really made a big move in a restaurant group, Bit Brothers. A low of 180 to 1174 in about 6-7 weeks. Now wedging and looking higher as a 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth wave might take us to high teens. BTU, well, it was a great performer for us off the 2020 lows, and then ran up beautifully in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move. Now after 5 waves up, it's consolidated for 8-9 months, and I'm thinking it's getting ready again. Any move above 32 could lead to 40 or better. CABA, how about this one? What a beautiful rising channel. Also made my top 30, not my top 20, because it was so overbought on a short-term basis. So when I look at stuff for a year, it's always difficult to determine whether or not a stock that's gone from 55 cents to, like 10 bucks or 20-fold would be something I want to add on. Now, usually momentum will carry this higher, and it very well might see mid-teens my target for the year. CECO Environmental with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now consolidating or wedging and moving sideways. Should it get over the recent spike high at near 13, I would look for 15 and 17. Coherus, big week and a half for this one. Look at this. 560 vertically to 1087. It doubled in a week. May need to back and fill, but the momentum could carry this one to 14. CLF, Steel Group may be emerging. I like this one. Little inverse head and shoulder. Pop and retest, hold that gap right there, and the VWAP, and then spike up. Friday was a good day for it. My targets are 20 and 24. CNCE in the biotech sector, Concert Pharmaceuticals, again, a member of my top 30, but it did not make my top 20, maybe because it had such a short recent spike up. I like buying stocks on better setups than that, but on a long-term basis, I'm looking for $12. CPRX, well, that is catalyst, one of my top 20 for the year, and you can see why. Continues to step its way higher, 24 and 28 targets going forward. Nice chart. CTMX, big breakaway on Friday, exploded to as high as 329, finished 244, still up 36%. And I'm going to see what it does early next week, whether it backs and fills in here and holds, and then goes again. If so, 3.5 and 4 3/4 are targets. Another Chinese stock with a big 5-wave move. 1, 2, retest the moving averages. 3, 4, retest the moving averages and trend line. Then there's 5. If you get a 5th wave spike with volume like that, we often want to sell them and wait for better setup. That would be the case here. However, I think Chinese stocks need to rest, but they may go higher. EHTH, another Chinese stock in the aerospace group, now been up 8 days in a row, from a little over 6 to 12.5, more than doubled, looking fabulous. Next target, 13.5 and 18. EHTH. Breakaway, coil, and pop breakout. Looks very good for a move to 6.5, 7, and 8, 8.25. Eventually, I think it'll test the $9 range. ELF has been a powerhouse since last May when it was trading at 20. Friday it exploded from 55.60 to 58.75, making a new high, breaking out of a coil. Now looking like the next target should be mid-60s. Oh, what a great chart that is. ELOX, another biotech stock with an explosive move, 175 to 518. Big move on Friday and breakout above the declining top sign in the 50-day moving area. So I'm now looking for a move that takes it into the 7 and 7.5 zone. EPOW, an orderly retest of the trend line. Now up 4 days in a row, but I'm waiting for a pop. Once it gets above 3.5, I think the stock flies to 4.5, 5, and even 6.5, 7. Personal holding. ETNB, long uptrend, and a nice one. Multiple waves up too. Friday was not a good day for it, but it's something I'm monitoring closely for a move into the mid-teens. FCX, copper was up last week. FCX popped its coil, ran up from 37.5 to 42.5, and the spike up Friday is a breakout. Here's a double top resistance around 43.5. So another point from here, you're going to run into some double top resistance level, but I think it makes it through the high 40s. FDMT, another stock that I picked for my top 30 list, but did not make the top 20, again, because it has had a big move and it's stalled here. Now, I do think it's going to go eventually. Once it gets above 26.5, 30 and 36 are targets. Fibergen, what a nice move, especially Thursday, Friday when it broke out with a gap, had a big follow through. In the last 3 weeks, it's gone from 13.75 to 20. 50% move. It's a long 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth wave is not done yet. I don't think 22.3 is my target. FGEN. Up next is Frequency Therapeutics. Nice coil breakout and pullback. Next target, 5.75, 6. FERQ looks pretty good. For solar, well, big breakaway move, broke it out of the base. It had a long 1, 2, 3. Here's wave 4 coil. Friday, significant pop of 11.28, about 8%. More importantly, though, I think it's going to 170 and 195, 200. Geo, rising channel, accelerated, and now a wedge. Looking for 13, 14.75. GOLD, one of my favorite gold stocks, Barrick Gold. Long downtrend, as you can see, multiple tops up near 26. They dropped it down in half to about 13, and now it's broken back out again. So my targets now are 20, 21, and 25.6. HLIT. Well, if you look at the long-term chart in the midst of this market, it made new all-time high. Well, I don't know about all-time, multi-year highs. This goes way back, 20 years. And now, the consolidation here in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move and held support. Pop Friday, let's see if we can get up through target resistance 15, 15.5, and then I'm looking for 17.5 and 20. HROW is a top 20 pick. Long-term chart is impeccable. The stock look has room to run. My targets are 17 and 22. Another Chinese stock, Huya, with a beautiful rising channel, reaching lateral price resistance and top of the channel, may need to pull back and set up better. So your next moves are 6 and 7.5. IMRA, I really like the look of this one too. That was a top 30 pick that didn't make my top 20, but you can see why. A little extended, basically went from 112 to 520 for a 5-fold increase.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, that's right, you didn't. Siri always gets involved. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth wave started. IMRA looks like it wants to fly. I'll move across here, and you're looking for 6.25 and 8.5. INMD was one of my swing trades here. It did well for a while, but then it's back and filled and got sloppy. It's been coiling for a couple of months, but it looked like Friday it made a move. It went up 245 or 7%. Volume increased a little. I would think if it gets across the 39.5 range, we're looking for 44, 45. IQ, the tech traders swing that did great, but it is a Chinese stock and it got hammered back a little bit on Friday off the top of the channel, not a surprise. Looking for a better setup and a move eventually at 8.5 and 10. Iridium with a big day Friday, a bullish engulfing bar that took it 52.5 to 62. Finished up 770 or 14.5%. A major breakaway move to, I believe, an all-time high. Indeed it is. We have room to run on this one into the 60s and 70s. CABA Therapeutics with a monster move, literally went from 3.5, 56.75 in a week. So the pullback Thursday, Friday shouldn't surprise. Near-term support 28. Beneath that 22. I'm going to need to see a better setup on this one. KC, another Chinese stock in the software application group, popped out, got up to near the top of the channel and pulled back Friday with many Chinese stock. A better setup, consolidation, or flag should lead to 6 or better. KDNY, this is a top 20 pick. And you can see why it broke out here. Looks to me like it's a $30, $32 stock. KNSA, I like to look at this one too, but it didn't make my top 20 despite the fact it's in a beautiful rising channel. It does have a target of 1920. KOLD, well, I don't know how far they can take this, but I want to show you Boyle while I'm on this one. Nat gas got creamed. Boyle, which was up to 140 some odd, is down to 12 and change, while the coal jumped from 10 and change to nearly 40. So 300% moves and exhaustion moves on both sides. Be careful with coal going forward. It's at a resistance level. LABU, we mentioned earlier, we like this. If it gets across 820, it might really run. Luna had a big move from October at 4 to the recent high at 1045, 150% move. And it is at resistance. Needs to maybe back and fill, consolidate, retest. But I got a 12.75, 13 target. MLCO, ever since it got its license from a CAB renewed, it's kind of crazy. 4.75, 13, tripled. It had a 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth wave may have started already. I would look for 15 and 17. NINE, this is a tech traded swing. You can see the pop and breakout there and a nice wedge forming or coil. Let's call it a flag. 18 and 20 for our targets. NIU, looking really good here with a flag and a breakout, but then it got whacked with the Chinese stocks on Friday. This one in particular, on big volume, be careful. It took a pretty good hit. Stop would be under there, about 4.75. OI, beautiful chart, big base, breakout last week out of a coil, and a spike up to resistance. Something to watch going forward. Look at this massive 4-year inverse head and shoulder type pattern that should lead to mid-20s. Pan American silver, my favorite silver right now, and it is tech traded at the current swing, looking like it wants to explode out of here. Puma, inverse head and shoulder breakout, pop, and retest, and then a move back up again into a resistance zone. This one's going to need to take out 515. If so, 6.5 and 8 are targets. PDSB, a top 20 pick for the year. Big base, breakaway gap, pop, rising flag, pop again, and then the pullback. Eventually, 17.5 is the target. Perion, one of my favorite stocks the last couple of years. We've had 2 great swings on it there and there, but in the last year, nothing until recently when it broke out again. This current swing had a falling wedge, and then exploded, literally going from 24 to almost 30. Rising channel, target 33. Purple, base, breakout, and coil. What else can I say other than it's a good setup for more upside? Targets 6 and 7.75. PRQR, the stock did not make my top 20, but it did make my top 30. Probably because it was under my limit. The list consists of 5 to 60 into price wise, so it wasn't expensive enough. Nevertheless, what a chart. And it looks like it's not done. Now looking for 4.75. REPL did make my list. That's a beautiful base breakout and consolidation. Here's truly looking for mid-30s eventually. RMED, strong explosive move off the all-time low here at 203, popped to almost 6, nearly tripling, and then formed a coil, held to 50, and popped again. It's been up for 7 days in a row, and it's at resistance. Next target though, if it does go, is $10. ROIV, love the look of this one. It is a top 20 pick. And it had a big week last week, in particular on Friday, but it popped another $1.09 or about 13%. Big volume on it for this stock, although it is near the top of the channel and it could pull back. Momentum might take it to 10.5, my current target, followed by 13. Rhythm is one of my best swings of the year. It went from literally where we gave it to you about 5 3/4 and now 33 and change, 34 actually. But the 34 move on Friday is a breakaway move to the next resistance level right there. If we get through that, we probably look for high 30s. Seed, after getting hurt in early December, pulled back from the V bottom of the right-hand extension. It's now got a wedge pattern. Watch this carefully. Over 785, go long for 9, 11, and 14. Personal position of mine as well. SMMT exploded and is in a rising channel, but on Friday got hit a bit. I still like the overall look and a channel target of 6 and 8. SRTS, big day on Friday after a good report. Exploded from 753 to almost 9, 889. Closed 887 after hours and a strong move above the 50-day moving average, but there's a lot of gap to fill in here, targeting 11 on swing. SUPN and biotech, that's been really in great shape since the inverse head and shoulder formed back in 2020. And ever since then, it's been a slow rise, consolidation here, et cetera, but I think we're looking at 42 and 48.50. TAL and its Chinese education group had a hard hit after coming off the top of the channel, but it held support and bounced. Eventually, looking for 11 and 14. Taboola made my top 30, but did not make my top 20 because of price. Still, a pop, coil, and breakout, a little flag is a setup, I think, for more. Looking for 3 3/4, 4, and 4 3/4, 5. TERNA is the top 20 biotech pick. And it's been acting well, particularly Friday, up another almost 8%. Once it gets above the $10 range, 10.65, excuse me, I'm looking for 13 and 17. TGTX made my top 30, did not make my top 20, but I like the overall look of it, particularly this engulfing reversal bar and the pullback test. Watch this one for upside moves into the low teens and then mid-teens or more. TSLA, I'm including this, folks, because it is a 1.5 times ETF bull ETF for Tesla. If Tesla's made a major bottom, let's look at it. I can't tell for sure, but I told you that I was looking for a climax. It came down to key support, actually took it out a little bit, but look at the volume, 236 million shares traded. I think the biggest volume ever on an engulfing reversal day. Has work to do. Your targets are 118 and 124.5 going forward. Let's see if they can take that out, then you're in business. But the Tesla tracking stock could be interesting. It's a cheapie. With leverage. Tusk, junior oil, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth waves underway in a 1, 2. I think 3, 4, and 5 are coming, which could get this into the $10 and $12 range. VIPS, Chinese stock with a pop and break out of a base pattern. Beautiful run up, but it's gone from 6 to 15 and is overbought short-term near resistance. Setup, flag, or consolidation would be good for maybe more upside. VIST, oil and gas stock with a beautiful rising channel. Although I'm not a fan of oil stocks, one cannot deny how strong this chart is. Viridian, VRDN, that is a tech trader top pick for the year, although it hasn't had a good week. I'd like to see it hold support, some key support, 24.5, 25. Targeting 32.3 and above. VRNA is yet another top 20 pick. Look at that beautiful base, breakout, pullback channel, breakout flag, breakaway gap, rising flag, very strong chart. I can see mid to high 30s or more. BYGR broke out on Friday, significantly breaking out of a multi-month coil, up 89 cents or 14%. This is something to keep our eye on in the biotech sector, as it has the potential to be a $9.5, $10 stock near term. WVE, I like to look at that little baby. It is a top 20 pick. Just made it's the lowest. I think it's the lowest price stock in my list. But it is above 5 at 578. Friday was not a good day for that one either, but once we get above 7, I'm looking for 9.5, 10. YEXT coming out of a base, pop, and flag. This is just a nice looking chart. I wanted to show you this one, as it looks like a setup for another move to 7.5, 8 3/4. Zyme is a top 20 stock. I like the base to break out the retest and the pop. Now this is the bottom of the right hand extended pattern. 12 and 15 are targets going forward. That's again a top 20 pick. And finally, Zixi. You know Zixi since I've been talking to you about it, 6 3/4, 7. And folks, it made it up to 17 1/4, nearly tripling over the last 6 months. And it is at resistance here. So I'm a seller up here. But next target would be 21, 22. Let's finish up with a look at some of the box of shorts. Aren't too many of them that I wanted to really discuss, but I'll go over them with you. Line right, after a big drop, is finally stabilizing this area, so I would have to be covered. If the market really runs. This one would be a cover for me over 230. Not too far away from it. Maybe NT broke out Friday, so I'm taking it off my list. CDMA still in a disastrous downtrend that's lasted a year and a half, or almost 3/4, from the mid-high 90s to low teens. I don't know how far down I take this, but it's pretty ugly. Next target, 9. EXPE, well, trying to bounce base, whatever, but it's been an ugly downtrend for a while until this pattern developed. I'm not sure what to do with it. LRN, this is a tech trader swing short. It should be. I don't like the way this looks at all. Only the market will say this one because if we get any down move at all, I think this caves. I would look for 28.5 and 25. PANW completing a massive top has rolled under support. Now has a target of 117 and 105. Robert Half maybe peeking out above his declining tops line. Had a good day Friday per se. Keep an eye on this one. The stop is over 79.80, but any rollover here, it could be a disaster into the 60-65 zone. SSTK, another candidate for potential cover on my list for quite a few weeks. Currently at resistance, so a takeout here would be a cover. The downtrend is still, it's in jeopardy, let's put it that way. Tandem, well, it's had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 multi-wave decline. Now trying to lift again. It's at the declining top line. If it fails here, it rolls over. We're going to see, low to mid 30s again, but a move above 50 should be covered. A long-term decline for T-Rex. T-Rex has dropped from 140 down to 40, and it's trying to base out here. So again, another candidate for a cover. A lot of my shorts still in downtrends, but threatening to break out. TTEC, massive top, breakdown, hard, just an ugly chart. I don't know what to tell you about this one other than to say that targets would be 40 and 36. Breakout would be above 51. That's where you stop it. TTG, tech target, TTGT, massive top pattern and a breakdown and a bear wedge. Although it did bounce for last week, probably cover over 50, but targets of 41 and 35. Upward continues to look down. Triple top, breakdown, large bear wedge, and declining channel, unable to break back out again. This would take a move above this double top, above 12.5 with energy to break it out and cover it. The RLD, long downtrend remains intact, but again, a move above recent highs, I would say stop over 72. ZM Zoom doesn't get much uglier than that, but it was up 6% Friday, and probably would indicate to me that a move above, say, 71 might be covered. Zscaler making lower lows and looking like it wants to go even lower. Right now, my target's down in the mid 80s. BILI broke down. No, I'm sorry, this is Build.com. It's an ugly chart, folks, and if it fails, if it cracks here, you might see something go down in the low 70s, even high 60s. Carvana is a total disaster. I don't know how far down they take this, but it looks like it's going to 1 or 2. Dyno, the oil popping, these have made a bit of a move above the trading range, but then reversed. So I'll conclude that they're still bearish. I want to see Dyno take out 48.25 to really get going to the downside. Then it's 41, 42, and below. ESTC cracked on Friday while the market was moving. That's a very bad sign. This looks lower to me. 39.40 target. LPI is another tech trader swing short. That looks ugly. In the oil sector, I'm targeting 41 and 36.7. NET also barely holding on, looking pretty ugly here, not participating in the market. And should it crack here, it could cave. Overstock doesn't get much uglier than that. I don't like the Bitcoin group at all, but we'll see. This thing's dropped from 135 down into the teens, and it doesn't look like it wants to recover. And finally, Snow also broke down last week. Not a good looking chart. Maybe retesting the lows here at 110 is in order. We'll see what happens with that one, but it's ugly. That concludes the Tech Trader weekend webinar, folks. Lots to look at. Please review as many times as you need to and pick out some ideas for yourself for next week. But certainly every day you'll be getting new ones at techtrader.com. So I'll talk to you on Monday morning early. Please be there if you can early before the market opens. In the meantime, have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. This is HP signing off. Bye-bye.